Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another weekly edition of Timeout Talks, which is brought to you by Chase and Phil's Custom T-shirts and accessories, the Ice Shaker, and also Make It Mac. Finally got my Timeout Talks apparel on right now. Ben got the Ice Shaker, so we're ready to go. We've got a very heavy basketball episode for you guys. Going to talk about the Celtics collapse. Hopefully, you guys have had enough time to kind of just reflect on that. We needed the time. We took the time yesterday. But yeah, we'll be talking Celtics. We're going to kick it off with that, talk about their collapse. We're going to give you our NBA Finals picks, predictions, what we think for that matchup. Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat take on the Denver Nuggets. We'll get into that a little bit later. We'll give you some Red Sox takes, which we'll finally kind of throw in there. We'll get to your comments as we do every show, and maybe even get to a couple football points. So, Ben, I'm going to turn it over to you. Just what the hell?
Yeah, it was perfectly said. That was just kind of what just happened game. It was great to see him come back from that 3-0 deficit, Josh, and make this a series. Give us some compelling, TV, but it just stinks to see him come all the way back and just have a performance like that. 0 for 10 from 3 in the first quarter. Just lowest amount of points in the first quarter all season. Kind of a tough time to take to have your lowest point total in the whole season. One of the most important games. So that was rough to see from them. I don't know why they kept shooting threes, Josh. It was kind of confusing. Since we're hitting them, we're just driving to the basket, making twos seem to work. So not sure why we just didn't go on that one. That one might be a little on Missoula, but I'm not putting all the blame on him. JB, obviously, we'll get to Jaylen Brown too, the turnover machine. Jimmy gave me this stat: 58 assists and 63 turnovers in the postseason. That's not going to get done. We got his contract year looming next year. We got to figure out what we're going to do with him, max contract wise. I know Jared maybe wants him in Portland. Maybe if you could give us Dame, I could I'd entertain that one, Josh. But ultimately, it was good to. I'm just glad they made this a series, Josh. I know everybody's been posing this question: would you rather get swept or, obviously, this game? I'd obviously take this game. I just didn't want to get swept. That's what I was saying last week. Checking back in last week, me and Josh were pretty down. Our predictions were looking pretty wrong at that point, being down 3-0. But I just went out there. Let's just not get swept, and they did that, but. Them doing this a little more just gave us so much more hope, and we should just realize as soon as that injury to Tatum happened on that first play, Josh, it wasn't going to be a good night for us. But why did they keep shooting threes? I'm just going to pass it out to you with that one. Why do we keep shooting threes like that? 0 for 10, as I mentioned in the first quarter. And as Denise said, you got to give it to the Heat. They played great, but it's just. Why did you keep shooting the threes? Can't we just switch it up a little?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that, were kind of running through my mind. You mentioned the Jaylen Brown, which I'm going to get to. The 3-point shooting, just abysmal, and it's just their motto. It's their theme. You've had the Houston Rockets team a couple years ago, the run and gun. The Mike D'Antoni, that was his kind of offense that he liked to run. Joe Mazzulla. Jerry gave a very good analogy to this, and I think it's very on point, and it's very true. And I'm just going to give you the analogy and take it for as you will. Joe Mazzulla, it's his second year in the league, total, just coaching. His first ever NBA coaching gig. I mean, Al Horford's older than the guy. The guy's 34 years old. It's like giving a 17-year-old keys to a Ferrari. Now, he's gonna take it real fast on the highway. He's gonna blow through a couple school zones going 40 miles per hour. He's not gonna follow the rules all the time, but sometimes things are gonna work out. If that makes any sense. Sometimes you're not gonna get the ticket. Sometimes you're going to, and. The 17-year-old, he lives by that motto of driving fast because that's what he's got the Ferrari for, other than the 65-year-old who's going to go 65 miles an hour in the slow lane and just kind of cruise it. The 17-year-old, his motto is just speed, speed, speed. It's a speed demon car. You gave him keys to this new whip, and he's just going to have fun with it. Use all the bells and whistles known to mankind. He's going to mess with the sunroof, whatever the Ferrari has. But the way I look at it is that, and I thought Jerry's point to that was great. I might have fluffed it up a little bit, but that's what happened. This team lived and died by the 3, and we saw Joe Mazzulla's weaknesses throughout the year. And, you know, from the beginning of the year, things were going great. It kind of mulled out a little bit towards the end of the year, and we saw some stalls. Some of that blame I do put on Joe Mazzulla. I'm a huge Grant Williams hater, one of the biggest Grant Williams haters that there is. I think he should have started him a little bit earlier on in the playoff series. He didn't. Gave him some minutes. Probably finally started to but get playing time in that Miami series. I thought it might have just been a little bit too late. The timeout, he took a little bit too long to call those. I know we can be picky. But at the end of the day, it's the same motto that I had last week. It's the same motto that it's just the truth. This Celtics team is going to now, this is their, fourth or fifth Eastern Conference Finals appearance. Jaylen Brown was inherited to an Eastern Conference Finals appearance. Same with Jason Tatum was. This team should have the experience. They don't need a 70-year-old coach who's been to 15 different NBA Finals appearances and, has been to a bunch of different championship experiences in his, resume. They don't need that. They should be able to win this game. We're clearly the better team. I know that they had injuries, but so did the Miami Heat. I know Steve Van Gundy, one of them, made a very good point on that. The Heat were without Tyler Hero, who's probably their second best player in terms of points per game. If you want to look at that, they were fine. We got out-coached, we got outplayed, we got outclassed. I know Marianne came into the comments talking about the Celtics just not having that energy. Denise saying, too, the players had a lot to do with it, and that's true. Ben's point, you talk about Jaylen Brown, how many turnovers? This has been a reoccurring thing with him. You look at last year's NBA Finals. How many turnovers did Jaylen Brown have? That cost us games. Huge games. He just can't dribble the ball. He can't figure it out. I don't know. He's, 6-7 years in the league. He should be able to figure out his dribbling. All of a sudden, this is within the past 2 years a recent concern. There's just so many different ways to point this. And, the Tatum injury, like you mentioned, Malcolm Brogdon, who I have just been a huge fan of. I think not having him to provide off the bench, even start at some points, that really hurts the team. And aging Al Horford, Rob Williams, who's just inconsistent with the injuries. One day he's fine, he's running up the court. The next day he's huffing and puffing and he can't catch a break. He tweaks his ankle in Game 7, so it's just a barrage of things that went wrong for the Celtics. They lived and died by the 3. They weren't having the 3s in Game 7. They cut the lead down in Game 7. They went back to the 3-point line, like you mentioned, Ben. It just didn't work out. And the way that I look at this is some people do need to go. I don't know if it's Jaylen Brown. I don't think it should be Jaylen Brown. I don't think, obviously, it's not going to be Jason Tatum. He's untouchable. But keep that pair. Somebody mentioned this to me, and it was a very good point. At some point, you're going to make it past that hump. These guys are still below their 30s. They've got plenty of experience. Got to get Jaylen Brown in that gym to work on his dribbling. Maybe you move on from a White or a Brogdon. The value's high right now for White. I don't know what they're going to do. Grant Williams, you got to let him go. I have to see how the cap works for the Celtics moving forward, and we'll be doing a lot of cap talk for the weeks to move forward. That's why I was I'm not even going to waste my time looking at it because this is going to be all summer. We're going to be talking about the cap space and potential moves. But before I turn it back to you, Ben, and we're going to be talking the Celtics for a little bit here, I don't think you move on from Jason Tatum, obviously. That's just a no-brainer. And I don't think you need to move on from Jaylen Brown. He's a 2-time All-Star. We know what he can do offensively and defensively. I think in this playoffs, in the last year playoffs, things shrinked a little bit. He had a couple turnovers that were key and crucial in moments. But, again, we know what he's going to give you night in and night out. He's a top 15 to 20 player. I know we had this argument in our group chat earlier. And I'm not moving on from Jaylen Brown. I'm going to sign Tatum to a lot of money, and I'm going to sign Brown as well. And one thing that I want to mention, too, for a lot of people who are kind of forgetting is Jason Tatum went missing as well. I think it was until the 4th game in the Eastern Conference Finals is when he finally made a field goal in the fourth quarter. It was either the third or fourth game. So that's something to kind of point to, too. Just a lot of things didn't go our way. We somehow corralled 3 wins in a row. A tremendous Derek White put back in basket that you would have thought would have got the Celtics plenty of momentum going into that Game 7, Ben, but just didn't end up being the case. And we find ourselves singing the same old song with the Celtics, another year, another turn to Brad Stevens and see what he's going to do for trades, another turn to Joe Mazzulla and company and see what they're going to do for assistants. It seems like there's already some guys that could be joining Ime Udoka, but I do want to say, to kind of take the void off of and the blame off of Joe Mazzulla, I want to see him with a full offseason under his belt, with all that stuff, all that drama that he came into within the season past him. He can choose his scouts. He can choose his assistants. Brad Stevens will kind of, get a nice table around him of guys that suit his needs. And the Celtics will make a couple moves. I don't know who's going to go. I don't know if it's going to be Rob Williams. I don't know if it's going to be Grant Williams, if they're going to pick him back up. Pritchard's probably going to go out the door. Who knows what's going to happen with Malcolm Brogdon, who I would love to have them stay. Derek White, do they trade for a big man? There's plenty of opportunities. This team's not going to go anywhere. We're going to be a playoff contender next year. It's just the matter of making the right moves, which I think Brad Stevens has done a great job in doing, Ben. And then the biggest point of this is working on the fundamentals of the Celtics, which is confidence in dribbling, because those both go out the windows in huge moments.
Yeah, perfectly said. Definitely need to work on that dribbling for Brown. It was pretty rough. I mean, I could call it every single time he drove to the middle. He was losing it. He's working that left hand. I'm a little more different on Brogdon right now, Josh. Listen, I loved him. I had a great regular season for us, but looking at him, would I be sad if he left? Yeah, a little, but I think we should probably move on from him as well. As Denise said, you don't really have that Jimmy Butler type of guy that can just get after it. Tatum was acting like that, but I think that injury just played a serious role. And I'm not giving him an escape route. Listen, you got to it's the NBA. You're a superstar. You get paid a lot of money. You got to overcome some of those tough injuries sometimes. So I'm not giving him an excuse for that, but he did have that injury, and he's sort of our go-to guy. And as well, in some of the comments, when that guy goes down, JB's got to step up, and he just hasn't done that every single time he's gotten the chance to. So that's a little worrisome for JB, but gonna have to agree with Josh too. I think we just don't have any more options. I think we got to just stick Jalen and Jason together. Because it's gonna be pretty tough with this new CBA, as Josh mentioned. We'll get into some of it, but listening to everybody else and listening to Jimmy, who's sort of gone into sort of the grits of all this, it's going to be hard to get some depth. It's either, we're going to have to either build around Tatum or, we're going to have to just go with this duo of Brown and Tatum and not have that depth that we've been seeing. So, as I mentioned, the Trailblazers possibly, if they want to send Dame over, I would love that little point guard action with Dame Tatum. That's just talking right now. We're still a recency bias in this. But I think the smartest option for the Celtics right now, just keeping those two together. And no pun, but I mean, Marcus Smart might be gone too. To be honest, those are my guys. Sorry, Josh. But
No, Ben, I was going to say sorry. He's one of those guys who escaped my mind too. He could be one on the move. I have a stat here. I have an actual stat to kind of, here we go. We got Rob and Aaron. Aaron coming in with the Dustin Poirier comment. Let's not talk about my favorite UFC fighter. We'll get to that in a minute.
He's all right. I like him. He's all right.
This is Ben's weird. We're going to get to that, actually. We're going to have a little segment towards that, because I just found something out about that I wasn't too happy, though. But anyways,
here we go.
Aside from that, there was a couple things, and Rob, of course you're back. He hit his bed. He's back on Twitch, which I love that he's like coming in weekly on Twitch.
Here we go, Rob.
It's funny. He's got to get the people going. The people got to know, Rob, that's fine. He hit on a bunch of three-pointers made. He hit like Duncan Robinson, Jimmy Butler. He had Jaylen Brown, I think, or like Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart. He had like basically the whole Eastern Conference like players. Anybody who stepped on the court hitting a three, they did it. Max Strus, like all those guys. Gabe Vincent to hit 2. He hit it. He won like 250. Congratulations. But I think you've made some very good points, Ben, that I really want to stress on, and a couple of those being one of the biggest things, and I know Denise has mentioned this in the comments as well, is there was no leadership, and I really want to turn to to Jimmy Butler, who corralled, who was able to rally for this team. We saw that in the bubble. We saw that last year. We saw that this year with even less support than he had in the bubble and last year. I mean, he didn't have Tyler Hero. He had a bunch of undrafted free agents who, again, I don't want to poo-poo on the Caleb Martins, and I don't want to poo-poo on the Gabe Vincents, but these guys did do a lot of carrying the load in terms of support for Jimmy Butler, and that's great. But I think it just goes to show you that what the Celtics team had, what we thought, they weren't it. You know, I looked at this team, and when we were down 3-0, I thought to myself over and over again, Ben, I'm pretty sure I even said this on the show, we were the more talented team on paper. You know, from top to bottom, Brad Stevens finally went out and he made these acquisitions, and I was so aggravated because I was like, how are we down 3-0? We went out when we got Brogdon. We went out when we got White at the end of last year. We had White for a full year who was able to get acclimated with the team. We went out and got Mike Muscala. I know, whatever, but it's bench depth. We went out and got Danilo Gallinari. I know that didn't work out, but again, this Celtics team had a lot of depth, so there's no excuses there. They've have the experience, so there should be no like question marks in terms of late games and fourth quarter absences and turnovers, which really dumb down to fundamental basketball and just being able to handle and control the ball. It was a disaster, Ben. It was a crapshoot. The ceiling kind of caved in, and this is the second team in Boston within these playoffs to lose to an 8th seed. It's got to sting. And this stat's going to sting a little bit too, because I did a little bit of digging right now, and I was talking about Jason Tatum, and we talked about how he's gone missing, and it took him a while to get his first field goal in games. Aside from field goals, just looking at it, we can all agree that the fourth quarter is the most important quarter. It's the end of the game. Jason Tatum averaged a whopping 4.9 points, 1.1 assist, and 1 rebound in 7 games in the fourth quarter of the 2023 Eastern Conference Finals. Just under 5 points. So I want to sit there, and I just want you guys to think about that, because I know a lot of people have been putting a lot of the blame on Jaylen Brown, and I know Jason Tatum stepped up a lot, and he's corralled us in Philly and Milwaukee last year, and he's had his moments in this Eastern Conference Finals as well, but that stat should jump out to you. As much as we want to blame Jaylen Brown, as much as we want to blame Joe Mazzulla for not getting Jason Tatum going, it's on the players as well. Under 5 points, under 10 points in the fourth quarter is kind of concerning to me if you're a closer. You want to be Kobe Bryant, you look up to Kobe Bryant, you got to play like Kobe Bryant. You can't go missing. So just under 5 points in the fourth quarter of the entire Eastern Conference Finals, that's going to weigh on you, and that's probably a big majority of the reason as to why we lost. Just saying. I'm going to look up Brown's numbers, but blame them all, Aaron. You're right. But a lot of blame's been on Jaylen Brown, and I kind of want to be devil's advocate here. I do think we re-sign him. I do think he wants to be here, Denise. It's just been a common thing for him in terms with the fans, and it's just this NBA, the way it is now, is a lot of it is for social media, and it's probably for, I don't know, contract negotiations. He's just throwing stuff out there. He even said to himself on First Take, he let the whole city down. So just kind of a lot to dive in there. We're going to turn shortly over to the NBA Finals and our picks. We'll talk a little bit more about the Miami Heat, as we should, rightfully so. Talk a little bit about the Joker, what we think for that. Maybe some parlays, some bets, some first baskets you guys want to get in on. Just kidding. We'll dive in a little bit with that. But I'm going to turn it over to Ben, and I'm going to pull up for you guys Jaylen Brown's fourth quarter stats, just for a little peace of mind here.
Yeah, it's always good just to hold them both accountable. Because as Josh mentioned, for some reason, actually, I mean, we kind of know the reason. Everybody's sort of already given Tatum the Batman and Jaylen Brown the Robin. So as I mentioned earlier, people are already sort of not giving him that sort of escape route. The injury. That's why I was a shell of myself. Tatum, as Josh mentioned in his post game comments, I was a shell of myself. I'm sorry for that performance. So people, kind of taking it easy on him, and they remember sort of from game 4 on, as Josh pointed out, because before that in the fourth quarter he was missing. He literally wasn't out there. He just didn't shoot the basketball. We blamed Mazzulla at the time too for not getting him the ball. I'm not creating some plays to get him open, but to be honest, we should have probably been looking at Tatum a little more too. As we sort of mentioned throughout this whole thing, it's Missoula's second time coaching in the whole his whole coaching career in the NBA. He was assistant last year, obviously, and now the head coach. So I mean, you really just put him in the hot seat. The 17-year-old kid with the keys to Ferrari, as Josh took from Jerry. We got to credit Jerry on that one. I can't let Josh get that one all on his own. But Josh gave a little fluff to it, which was nice, which is true. I mean, listen, what are you going to do to this guy? He made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and he got this team to rally around from a 3-0 deficit. They really can't ask more from him. So I'm not going to put this blame on Missoula. I want to see him, come back. I believe he got an extension. I don't know. I think Jimmy showed us something yesterday, Josh, but I forget what he showed us. Maybe he got extended. I could double
Joe
check
Missoula got extended midway through the year last year, or this year, midway.
Yeah, listen, I forgot about that already. Listen, I've still been pretty upset over. I'm still the recency bias, so I'm glad that we got him for a couple more years now. Let's just see what to do with him. Sorry, I'm still a little over the Celtics loss. Just looking at everything from the ground zero. But so we got him locked away. That's good, but we got to look at Tatum. We got to hold those two accountable. Brown, we obviously know those issues, but I kept forgetting to mention this point too. I mean, they're missing Victor Oladipo too. The Heat, throw that in there as well. That's just another key injury for the Heat. And Jimmy Butler just rallied this team. As many people have mentioned, Caleb Martin too, stepping up big for them. You gotta give him a shout out as well. Probably not very liked in Boston at the moment, Caleb Martin, but you gotta give it to him on that one. But just looking at this team, I think as we mentioned, just keep Brown and Tatum. They got to figure out 26 to 25. We still got plenty of time in their prime time years to go. I don't want to throw away this great tandem that we've had for so many years already just because of this, loss. And people got to remember, I mean, this is a very motivated Heat team. Same exact position last year. They got sent home. They played that little conference, post-game conference, Jimmy Butler last year saying we're going to be back in this position. Remember that? Same exact team. So, I mean, he was motivated. This team was motivated. They remembered what we did to them last year. And, everyone's saying, we had the momentum. They had a lot of pressure on them. So, I mean, they came out there, and just executed the game plan. They wanted it more. They think, that becoming history was a big part of that, Josh. Becoming the first team to ever lose a 3-0 lead. That's pretty big thing to get you amped up for a game, and they seem more motivated than us, which I knew was a possibility, but I just didn't want to see it, Josh. I mean, you just made this great comeback, and you're going to come out and play like that in the first quarter. And as you've sort of alluded to in there, you get to this game to 10 points, 7 points, 7 points one time, but we got this game to 10 points so many times during the game, and then we just shoot up a three. We just chuck up a three. Just try to get it back all at once. And it wasn't the case. The driving was working. Payne was working well for us. We were getting what we wanted. Jalen had that nice jumper going. Marcus Smart was doing his thing. Had a nice little jumper as well. We just got away from it. It just seemed like every time we tried to get so close, we were getting back into it. We just checked up another three. And then let them go on a little run. They couldn't stop them. And then the defense eventually fell apart. So ultimately, let's just, I know it's tough right now, but we got to keep this duo because I don't think the grass is any greener on the other side. I don't want, like as I mentioned, hey, Jared wants to call up the Trailblazers and maybe do a straight up for Dame and JB. That's probably the only deal I'm really looking at. I know the guys have pointed out maybe Karl Anthony Towns. I saw that one float in the group chat. I wouldn't be opposed to that at all. I love Cat. Get him on a winning team. No shot at the Timberwolves, but Timberwolves only can go so far. That team is not really built right now, but I would love to see Cat in a Celtics uniform. I think that would definitely help. But trade logistics aside, we got to look a little deeper into that, but. Only real trade I would do is Brown for Dame. If they want to do that straight up, sort of build over there, rebuild Portland with that number 3 pick, get to keep Anthony Simmons, get JB. So, probably get a Brandon Miller, Scoot Henderson, start over there with them. So that's what I would really only do. Keep this team. Don't get too panicked over this. I know it'll look bad, but Grant's probably gone. You just get used to seeing Brown and Tatum after this performance, because I think the rest we're gonna have to just clean a house. Unfortunately, Smart's gone, as Josh mentioned. Grant's gone. Josh is happy about that. It's gonna put a smile on his face.
He played okay. He played pretty good in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'll give him that.
Yeah, see, there we go. Josh giving.
You think Brogdon's gone?
Yeah, I think he's got to go. Just the opposite of this recency bias, people are going to remember. This is pretty rough Eastern Conference Finals from him, and I don't think he's just a player. Listen, I loved him for what he did by seeing Derek White do his thing. I think people are just going to sort of gravitate towards him, and it was just an aging guard that we can replace. So I think he's going to be gone, clear up some money. Same with Dano. We didn't really see Gallinari, but he's probably gone too. Let's just that was a cool one. Didn't really get to see him play, but and unfortunately too. I mean, Bob. I mean, we got to think about this too. Bob might be out of there. Bob did not look too good. He's inconsistent. And another one, Josh. I know off topic, but I know another group chat question I wanted to get to. I know a lot of people. It was a kind of a mini debate. DeAndre Ayton or Robert Williams, and listen, skill wise, and obviously I'm taking DeAndre Ayton. I'm gonna be serious. I'm taking DeAndre Ayton 100 times. It's easy. I know it was a little conversation. I saw a little heated debate. I didn't really know if it was too heated, but I just want to put that 2 cents in there. All day I'm taking it. DeAndre Ayton. I know he's got some bad attitude problems in Phoenix. It was just him and Monty. Him and Monty didn't get along. So I'm taking DeAndre. I just want to put that in there, but give me JB and Tatum.
I agree. I think, DeAndre Ayton all the way. I just think the inconsistencies of health-wise with Robert Williams, he can't even play longer than 20 minutes. Romo even agrees. Who's meowing at me over here. He probably wants food. But, I think I agree. I think there's going to be small moves like that. I think you keep your core of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I don't think you should need to move it out. They work well with each other. If you do it, I agree with you. I think it's a big splash where we see them calling up Portland. Damian Lillard finally gets out of there, but Portland still can keep a younger player and also still blossom and bloom with that young pick and Anthony Simons, Shaedon Sharp, who's phenomenal. They've got some pieces out there in Portland, but again, I think they keep Jaylen Brown. I know Aaron's saying trade him. I think he stays here where he should. Like you said, salary caps are going to become an issue, especially if you extend Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You're going to give these guys like super maxes and max contracts. Al Horford's his max contract's got to be coming off the boards at some books at some point. So it's not like the NFL where you can kind of play around with money and restructure. That'd be kind of cool. But again, this Celtics team's going to be hovering around the playoffs. We'll be back to talk about them, dive more into their salary cap. And Joe Mazzulla got extended around February. So this was like middle of the season, still a lot of time left. I think it's fine. Roll them out there another year. Rob, we're not going to get the Caleb Martin fan club going. We've already got that on the text chat or Snapchat. I sound like I'm like a boomer. We've got it on the Snapchat group chat. That's our name of our group chat now, is the Caleb Martin fan club. So he was God. He was unbelievable. He was probably arguably the second best player. If not, should have been the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. I know a lot of people clamoring for that. But yeah, Ben, I'm taking Ayton. Jaylen Brown stays. And
just want to put that out there.
Celtics fell over. But before we turn over here, Erin came in. She posted a really good point. We're going to stick to the NBA. We're going to get back to it. But Ben has this like weird thing going on with Dustin Poirier there. We were talking a little bit about the UFC and his big fight. I almost said with Mike Chandler, with Justin Gaethje, who a lot of people are feeling Justin Gaethje. But where is the hate coming from Poirier? He was all over the place, Erin. He's saying, I like him as a person. I don't. It's his fans that I don't like. I like Dustin Poirier, but I don't. Ben, give us an official answer here.
Listen, he's all right. I don't hate him. I got nothing against him. Louisiana boy. Great pride. Puts on a great fight every time he goes out there. I'm just not in love with him as Jimmy's and some of these fans, they just go crazy for him. It's just kind of like, Pats Nation, same with Josh. I mean, they go crazy for him. He's a great fighter, not one of the best. Some of the fans kind of get a little too ahead of themselves on that one. That Conor McGregor fight, obviously, I think he was going to win that one, but it was kind of a fluke injury for McGregor. But I give it. I know.
Aaron saying so. It's a James issue. Do you
No,
have some other friends that love him? Is
No,
this what is this stemming from?
there is no hate against him. There's is just nothing. This is just my opinion. Now, listen, do I
Aaron,
love him
I
as a
get it.
fighter? Am I gonna turn? Am I gonna turn on the TV every time I see him? No, but listen, he's gonna put on a great show. He's just not one of my favorite. Everybody loves this guy. Everybody says he's the best. He's the best.
So
I just don't see it.
who is everybody? We're asking.
The Jimmys,
Oh,
and
okay,
the
and
Joshes
the
of the world, the Jimmys and the Joshes,
Hey.
the fans. The fans are passionate. Let's just give out this
One of the best strikers in the game, baby. Dustin Poirier. Let's go, man.
All right, he's no
One of the
Gaethje.
best. Oh, hey, he already beat Gaethje once.
Yeah, listen, Gaethje.
Oh,
wins the
yeah.
match. Listen,
We'll see.
Gaethje looked good. Listen, Gaethje looked really good this past time. Cost him some money, so beat up. As we mentioned last night, listen, I loved him in that Aziz fight, so I'm backing him on that one. Listen, just because that's the problem. See, these Poirier fans get all over me just because I say I'm not in love with them. Jimmy and Josh get all over me. It gets Aaron too. Aaron just bookmarking this. Listen, just because I'm not in love with the guy doesn't mean I don't like him. But am I gonna, like I said, am I gonna turn the TV on every time? No, listen, my guy's Volk. Love Volkanovski. Love those Aussie fighters.
Aaron.
But
Aaron said, just asking. She said she was just asking how you felt right now in this moment because things were changing a little bit yesterday.
Yeah.
But
Listen, my personality changes, Josh. I go every day, maybe if he puts on a great fight next time, maybe I'll become a little bigger fan of him. But right now, I'm indifferent. He's right
you?
there. I like it. Yeah, see, you guys are pushing me.
no, we're not. We just wanted to straight.
The Poirier fans are pushing me. The Poirier fans are pushing me to this. That's the thing, it's just like the Pats fans. It's just like the Pats fans, just why not? Why? Why don't you like him? Why don't you like him? He's great. He's great. And I say, yeah, listen, the guy is great. He's awesome. He's puts on some great fights again, as I mentioned. But he's not my favorite. He's middle of the pack. He's just
Middle
like
of the pack. Wow.
Listen, for my fandom. Listen, I'm not saying he's still. He's number 13th, right now, pound for pound. Listen, you gotta give him his due.
Oh, we looked it up real quick.
I gotta look it up. I gotta give him his stats. I gotta give him his stats. He's number 2 contender right now. So listen, lightweight. I'll give him his flowers, as Josh just did for Grant.
So he wins this fight. Does he get a title shot? Does he deserve one?
Yeah, if he beats up Gaethje, if he can beat Gaethje again, I think he deserves a title shot. After, like as I mentioned, that Aziz fight was a top contender. Gaethje took him to town. If you could beat up Gaethje after that performance, I think that deserves a title shot. But again, am I gonna be crazy about it? No. He's all right to me.
I can't wait till we get closer to that fight. We'll pick
I'll
it
be
up back
texting
then.
Gaethje. We've already got a bet, me and Josh. I'm already got Gaethje.
Yeah, we've already got a little bet here between me and Ben. We'll get back to that. Erin's demanding us to talk about the Nuggets. She's also saying, it's fine, Ben. No judgment, too. I have multiple personality disorder. So, Erin throwing a couple little jokes in there.
You can hear the judgment from
Rob
from
wants the
text.
sugar show. What do you
judgment.
want, Rob? He's getting the title fight. We're going to talk about it. It's going to be a good one.
We'll get there,
I'm
man.
actually glad that he advocated to stick with Boston. I believe the fighter who's going to go up against, I'm blanking.
Aljo. Oh, yeah.
Aljamain Sterling, yes. Said, hey, let's do it in July. Sugar Sean said, no. We're going to do it in August. So Rob's going. He's going to spend $700 to go. So
That's a lot of money, Rob. Hopefully you win some parlays. Support that and keep it going. But yeah, I love Sugar Sean making it. Listen, it's always good to see the UFC come back to Boston. Thinking about getting some tickets too. Probably not. Kind of expensive, Josh. I could just watch some pay-per-view. To be honest, I like watching from the couch anyways. People know that about me. More of an indoors guy. Let's watch it from the couch. I don't need to go to the game every time.
he's not a traveler either.
No traveler. Maybe wait to tell the
Uh,
people that one. Maybe we gotta ease that one in there. I travel to certain places. Uh, but listen, Josh,
he
Josh is
didn't
my
like
guy for that.
that.
Josh is my guy for that one. Josh gets it. Josh gets it. But listen, Aljo, I'm still taking Aljo. I'll cut to the
Mm.
point of this one. Everyone's gonna be taking Sugar Sean. Listen, I'll take Sugar Sean a parlay too, but it's gonna be great
Aaron,
odds.
too soon. Aaron, like a little insider there. We're gonna move
A
forward
little
here.
inside. Go
It
Aljo.
is Rob saying Ben is scared of the outside. We're gonna get that going. I'm just kidding. Ben is an outside guy.
I'm outside
He's the
guy.
life of the party.
Not a traveler.
Not a traveler though. The Eastern Conference Finals winners, Miami Heat, 8th seed. Just crazy to think. Two eight seeds in hockey
From
and
Florida.
basketball. Florida teams too. There you go, Ben. Keeping me on my toes there. Making it to the finals. Going up against the Nuggets, their counterpart, Jokic, the Joker. This is going to be a great finals matchup here, Ben. I'm just going to dive right into it. I let you take the beginning of it, and I think things look good for this one. I know a lot of people are interested in seeing more of like a Celtics Lakers or the Celtics Nuggets, but I think that this will entice some viewers. The viewership's not going to plummet down. That's just our bias, like Homer takes. This has a lot of appeal to it. You look at Jimmy Butler, who's been chasing that first finals ring. Both of these teams, neither of them. I don't think the Denver Nuggets have even ever won a title. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that they haven't. The Miami Heat, they haven't won since the days with LeBron James. Jimmy Butler's chasing his second finals appearance in the last 4 years. It's got a lot on plate here. We've got Jimmy Butler with a bunch of undrafted free agents, and you've got a potential Tyler Hero coming back, going up against the Denver Nuggets, who are trying to get over that hump. Two teams trying to get over the hump. I think you look at it like this as well. The Denver Nuggets are going to go as far as Jamal Murray takes them because we know what Jokic is going to give them night in and night out. And we know what Jimmy Butler is going to give the Miami Heat in night in and night out. But we don't know what the supporting cast is going to do. Their shooting percentages have struggled. They did shoot from, I think, above 50% up the majority of the games in the Eastern Conference Finals. But again, that's going to come down to life here. The Nuggets have the home court advantage. They also have the best player on the court. Whereas we're going to give Jimmy Butler his flowers in the Miami Heat. He was the best player on the court in terms of just both sides against the Celtics. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to be the case when looking at Jokic. And you could even maybe make the argument that Jamal Murray has been having just as good as a playoffs run as Jimmy Butler as well. Jamal Murray's been sensational, especially from beyond the arc. I'm going to say it. I'm going to quickly come out here and say it as well. Jacob's going to like this one. Aaron's going to like this one. And a lot of Denver Nuggets fans are going to like this one. I got the Denver Nuggets in 6. I think Jokic's size is just way too much for Bam Adebayo, who's struggles. Very big and consistent player there. Tyler Hero coming off that injury. I like these undrafted free agents. I love their stories. I like the Duncan Robinson reemergence here. But again, that's only going to take you so far. I think you look at this Denver Nuggets team, everybody has their role, from the Aaron Gordons to the Bruce Browns to the Jamal Murrays, who's finally found his way after that ACL injury, and Jokic, he's chasing that ring. Denver Nuggets have the home court advantage. It's looking like them. I'm going to say Denver Nuggets in 6.
I like that one, Josh. I like it. Might be agreeing with you on that one. It's a little tease, but just want to confirm that, yeah, that this is the first Nuggets ever trip to the finals. So breaking that little curse for them. Let's see if they can finally win it. Got a great chance. Got to agree with you on that one. Joker, obviously, best player in the court. I think best player in the world right now. Proving that he got that MVP. Should have 3 MVPs right now. Kind of got that taken away. I think you took it a little personal right now, but yeah, it's gonna be an interesting matchup. I mean, the Nuggets pretty much go 5 deep. They got a couple bench guys. I think Jeff Green and I'm blanking on the other guy, but he was around there. I think pretty much just go that stellar lineup of KCP. You got MJP, Mike Porter Jr. PJ, I should say. He's finally stepping up, as Josh mentioned. Sort of Jamal Murray's injury has plagued him. Same with Michael, and he's really stepped up and shown the talent of why he got drafted so high. Because where he's on the court, he's got that ability. He's one of the best ever. He takes that lineup to another level. Got Aaron Gordon at the 4, which is just helping Joker just relieve some of that pressure of the rebounds and some of the defense, just some of that wear and tear on the big man's body, just helping him elevate that offense, which just runs so smoothly with them. I mean, been watching just some of his games throughout. Obviously Denver's. I mentioned this last time. They're in the 4th time zone. Most people don't realize we've got 4 time zones, so most people don't really get to see the Nuggets. But this offense just runs so smooth with them, just so fun to watch him play. The game, it really just makes you appreciate it a little more. We've seen some of sort of the NBA come away from sort of the playmaking and passing, kind of just take a one-on-one and see what you can do. But this Nuggets team really knows how to spread the ball, get everybody a touch. Joker just is an instructor of it all. I was trying to think of the other word, but it would come to me. But so I got them. I don't want to take everything from Josh in that one. Game 6. I'll go Nuggets in 5. I'm gonna go Nuggets in 5. As Josh mentioned, there's just depth going to hold up. It's Rob's favorite player now, Caleb Martin, going to have sort of this stellar performance that we've seen from him. I think it's going to come down a little. I think Bruce Brown will be able to sort of play a little better defense on him than we were. I think the Nuggets just take control of this. And like I mentioned, it's the first time ever being in the finals. I got a bunch of motivation for that. Heat coming off a 7-game series might be a little tired, might be a little sore from this one, battling back and forth with us. So Nuggets been watching, been resting this whole time. Which is great for guys that we just mentioned, like Murray and Michael Porter Jr. So we're gonna take Denver in 5. See Josh laughing, so it's probably Caleb Martin fan club Robbie. Hopefully he's Robbie in the chat.
He's saying, the Celtics got bounced by undrafted players. Let that sit in for a minute. Ben is, he already said that Ben is scared. And then also Aaron, I'm laughing at Aaron's comment, the gold medal for a gold team, which was funny, and then nugget for a nugget. I thought that's funny. And yeah, Ben, I think that, and this is an open discussion here for everybody to kind of just chime in, but I think it's pointed to the Denver Nuggets way, whether if it was the Celtics or the Miami Heat, rest matters here, especially for a big man like Jokic. I think having home court advantage is huge. I think you look at a lot of the role players for the Miami Heat being very inconsistent. You don't see that from the Nuggets a lot. I think that they're destined, Ben. They had that number 1 seed. And as much as I hate to say it, I love what Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat are about because, they kind of go away from that star power of the NBA. You look at the Celtics, they have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You look at the Nuggets, they have 2, solid all-star players. Tyler Hero, I don't think Tyler Hero as a number 2 is going to win you a championship. He's borderline a 3. So I love the Miami Heat's story, the foundation. As much as I hate Pat Riley and his smug look, you gotta respect what him and Eric Spoelstra have been able to kind of spring up there in Miami, even without LeBron James leaving, who is probably the greatest basketball player of all time, to just get up and leave your organization. You're gonna assume it leaves you in shambles for a long time. However, it didn't for them. Counter the Cleveland Cavaliers, who they've kind of figured it out, but not Miami Heat level figured it out. Again, I like this story, but I do think that they struggle another star, and I think we're going to see that. And as much as I hate to use this excuse, but I look at that Celtics series loss more on the Celtics than I do the Miami Heat. And I know that that's terrible, and I know it's not right to Jimmy Butler and that Miami Heat team, but I think this Denver Nuggets team is too much. They just swept a Lakers team who's a pretty decent team. They're decent, that Lakers team out there. They made a pretty deep run, considering the fact that they were pretty much on the brink of elimination of yet even making the play-in tournament. So let's not take the Denver Nuggets for credit here. I don't think that they're to be played around with, and I know you could say the same for the Miami Heat, but again, this is a team that I feel like is kind of going all in here. They put all the chips in. They remind me of that, like, and this is a kind of a poor analogy, but that Red Sox team a couple years ago when they went up against the Astros, they beat them. They lost. They went far. They beat the Yankees in that first round. Everybody was like, "Whoa, what the hell? This Red Sox team's all in." They kind of remind me of that team where they have star power, like they have power, but they don't have that star power. So, aside from Jimmy Butler, he can't do it all. The wheels are going to fall off at some point. Like you said, just coming off of Game 7. I like the Denver Nuggets and at home. Aaron's playing with a bunch of emojis here on Twitch, but I like the Denver Nuggets at home, Ben. You can't count them out for that, and I'm pretty sure that they are like pretty much close to undefeated at home. I'm going to look up that record, but this team is not to be messed around with. And finally, both these teams made me eat my words, but the Denver Nuggets really did, because I called them frauds for months. I said, "Oh, they'll kill the standings and then they'll fade out." Hey, they're in the NBA Finals. They're 4 games away from a ring. So,
Yeah, gotta finally give them credit too. I'll jump in there as well. I wasn't as adamant against them as Josh, but yeah, I definitely just had the stigma. They just a regular season team. They always kind of collapse in the playoffs. They're just proving us and everyone else wrong. Just got a great solid lineup. Loving, as I've already mentioned them. I mean, I'm just loving what they've been doing this postseason. They just run those 5 guys basically. They get stuff done. They get it all done. Duncan Robinson too. I just want to throw that stat out here. Well, he got his first block all season against JB on that block. So I just want to put that out there. I know Josh kind of mentioned it. That kind of triggered that random stat. I just want to throw that in there. Just keep yelling at JB for that one. I still don't know how he blocks him on that, but yeah, I think that Miami is just has exhausted the Cinderella run. I think they're running into another sort of Cinderella run team, as we mentioned, first time ever going to the finals. This team's motivated. Joker feeling like he got that MVP rob from him, as Josh mentioned. Murray returning into form, playing like the caliber player we know he can be before the injury. And then just letting all these other role players step up now. Aaron Gordon, MPJ, KCP, Rob's favorite guy, ex-Laker. So, and as Josh mentioned, I mean, the Lakers were no slacks. I mean, just beat the defending champs. Took down, I know the Warriors weren't they weren't a shell of themselves, but they definitely weren't the Warriors of last year. So, but got to take that with a grain of salt, but they still got the job done. So you got can't hold the Lakers against that. And they took care of them pretty easily. So you got to factor that in. That's why I'll take him in 5. I think Denver in 5 is a solid one. I don't want to just keep jumping on Josh's bandwagon with that. Denver in 6. But Jokic, best player on the court. I think it's going to be awesome to see. As I mentioned, people don't really get to see him. I think everyone's going to really get to see Joker now and really know how great of a player he is and get some love for him. I feel like people thinking Embiid's the best big man out there. People see him more over here on this coast. MVP obviously helps, but I think Joker, prove a lot of people wrong right now and get some more fans in this finals, Josh. So I got the let's go Nuggets. And to be honest, we can't take the Heat. Nobody from Boston really should be taking the Heat. It would be nice. I mean, it'd be nice to say we lost to a team that won the championship. I really don't want to see this Heat team win it as well. And Tyler Hero back for them. I think he was cleared for basketball activities, so possibly see Tyler Hero back in action for the Heat in this series. We'll put that out there.
Yeah, no, Ben, I think you're right. I think Jokic is better than Joel Embiid. I think he's more consistent. He can do more. And yeah, he got snubbed of the 3 MVPs. The NBA has a little thing that they want to push. That's fine. I think Jokic was literally better in like majority of the categories for stats, and that's what you're looking at pretty much in terms of the MVP, whatever. I digress on that point. But again, yeah, this Denver Nuggets team, I looked it up, they're 8-0 at home. Like, they're unbelievable at home. They've had a couple close games. Again, they finish it out. I know this Miami Heat team, and I will credit Reggie Miller on this because he was dead right on this. This Miami Heat team is very good in close games, and the Boston Celtics were not. They're able to handle adversity. And I do expect a pretty competitive series. That's why I do think it goes 6. I could see the Miami Heat maybe stealing one at home, potentially. I don't know. But again, they're pretty good stealing one at home. On the road, excuse me. They're 6-4 on the road. So, no, these two heavyweights. They're the two best teams left in basketball. They made it through the gauntlet. Miami Heat especially beating the Bucks and Celtics. So, again, tip of the cap to them, but I think the road comes short. Jokic and company are looking at another ring. I want to throw this point in here quick before we go to baseball.
Well,
We can throw it in.
baseball.
The Golden Knights will lose. The Florida Panthers are going to win. It's to Chuck. I mean, like, you talk about, like, Miami, and you talk about, like, Florida, you talk about leadership, you talk about Jokic, you talk about everything. Matthew Tkachuk is just unbelievable. This, like, talk about a guy who, like, and I know that this Florida Panthers team from Duclair, they've got Ekblad, who I've been a huge fan of. They've got Verhaeghe, who I even put on a first goal thing. He came super close. He didn't get it. They've got studs, but Matthew Tkachuk is one another. And I know Bobrovsky's been balling out. Tip of the cap to him, I think he's been averaging just under 2 goals a game, which is very good in the playoffs, especially after being just the second guy to Lyon, who was just miraculously, sporadically threw in. Yeah, he literally got thrown into the fire against the Bruins. But Tkachuk, I think he has 3 or 4 game winners. This team went through, talk about an absolute gauntlet. You went through the best team of all time in terms of record for the Bruins. You beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. And you didn't beat the Lightning. And you beat the Maple Leafs. You beat the Maple Leafs, you beat the Bruins, and then you beat the Devils. No, the Hurricanes, excuse me, the Hurricanes, who are a very, very primed team, who have been pretty dominant and prominent within the last 2 years. Florida's going to win. They're going to do it in 6 or 7. Shout out to Bruce Cassidy and the Golden Knights. Almost blew. They let up 2 games on the Stars, and I wanted the Stars to win. Shout out my guy Tyler Sagan. It's just Tkachuk. They're gonna do it. That's all I'm gonna say is Matthew Tkachuk. Sorry.
Man. Team of Destiny vibes, Josh. We were saying that all year about the Bruins, and the team that kicked us out kind of sort of adopted that from us, I guess you could say. They just took it away. Josh went through the whole line, but I think you just got to give the credit to Bob. Obviously, it's Chuck. Gets the credit as well, but I mean, just that switch, as soon as they made it from Leon to him, you just saw that instant change in this team. And that's what you need. We always talk about it with that Matt Murray, Penguins year, and obviously the Tim Thomas year, not making the switch, but just a goaltender that can just turn it on for a team. And get them all the way. You just need a hot goaltender in the NHL, and that can take you really to the Stanley Cup and even win it. That's just how important that position is in this sport, and especially in the postseason. So it's been, it was tough to see. It's great to see that they've continued it, and it just wasn't sort of a fluke against us. It would have been pretty tough if the Maple Leafs beat them. But they took it to the Maple Leafs. They went into Toronto and took it to them again. Just like they did to us. As Josh mentioned, it was still tough. The red teams, the Devils, were playing the Hurricanes before the round prior. So I was a little confused on that one, too. I forgot who won that one. It was a red team. But they took it to them as well at home. Took care of business nice and early, as Josh mentioned. I believe it was 3 game winners, as he said, for Chuck. I mean, that's just crazy. It was just everywhere, every game. I think 2 of them were back to back. I haven't really been keeping up with it as much, Josh, since the Bruins been out. But yeah, I'm gonna have to side with you on this one. Yeah, the Panthers win it. I'll go Panthers in 6 too. Panthers 6. I think this team's just team of destiny. Unfortunately, it'd be good to go down to the team of destiny. That's what we can say about this Bruins team. It's so bittersweet, but hey, we got to shout out to Bruce Cassidy. Look at that. I'm not knocking Jim Montgomery for the job he did too, but I mean, look what happened over there. Bruce Cassidy leaves the Bruins his first year. He's in the Stanley Cup Finals, so funny how that works. But hey, credit to him, Jack Eichel. They got a good team over there in Vegas. Jordan Marshall, whatever Butcher did, probably.
Marshall. I know who you're talking about.
Something like that.
Yep. Jack Eichel's nice too.
Yeah, Jack Eichel, Jordan. I'm just calling Jordan. Had a couple game winners, just like the Chuck. So he's kind of like that Chuck role over there for him. But they got a nice little team over there. So gonna be a great series. Listen, I'll tune into it for a little. I'm not gonna tune into too much of it. Kind of more interested in the NBA Finals, kind of as Josh mentioned. Not the matchup everyone wanted, but kind of intriguing NBA Finals to watch. But got another one over the intriguing NHL matchup. So I think we've got a great set of matchups over there. Can't complain about any of the teams that have made it. Just hats off to all four of them. Grueling seasons, they got the job done. So let's go Nuggets and Panthers, I guess. Odd duo, but I guess they get the job done.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of weird too because you don't really want to see Bruce Cassidy get a ring over there, especially the first year leaving. So I guess maybe it feels better to lose to the Panthers. Yeah. I'm rooting for them, whatever. And shout out Sam Bennett. That hit was just unbelievable in that Hurricanes game. I think it was like game 3 or 2. Completely took the other player off the ice. I forget exactly who the player was.
Jacob Slavin.
Yeah, there you go.
I remember that.
That was...
Yeah. The goalie should have probably helped him out. It was pretty rough.
Yeah, the goalie helped him out, and then he collapses. Yeah,
that was pretty rough. But like you said, Josh, sorry, cut in, but that was a crazy hit. That was...
hockey hit.
Those are the hockey hits. Those are the postseason hits that championship teams make, Josh. So, I mean, they're right there. They're checking off all the boxes right there. So, not shout out Panthers, but good job, Panthers.
No, you're 100% right. We both got Panthers. We'll see what it goes. We're going to quickly, with the last 4 minutes, we're going to talk Red Sox, who, as you can see on this screen here, above 500 but are in last place. They've lost 6 of their last 10. They're 28-26, hovering around that Blue Jays mark. And, hey, guess what? The Yankees are only 5.5 games behind the Tampa Bay Rays. They just had a pretty grueling series with the Orioles. However, we're talking Red Sox, and finally, I think this is just reality, Ben. I think there's one thing that the Red Sox fans and company can look forward to, and I'm going to name that as my little walkout. But it's just it's falling apart. The plug and play guys have worked for a little bit, but it can only take you so far. I like James Paxton. I said last year he was going to bring a little bit of spark, maybe fire to this team. He's 1-1 right now, got an ERA above 5. Chris Sale's showing some life, but the bullpen can't really figure it out. Kluber's getting sent back to the bullpen. They don't really have a consistency going on here with Tanner Houck. I do think that they should stick with him. They have. That's my guy. He's kind of been so-so. So, again, they're struggling to find that number 2. You traded Nathan Eovaldi, who just has been lights out for the Texas Rangers. I have him on my fantasy team. Trust me, I know. He was your ace, too, so essentially there goes your ace. Alex Verdugo's come back to life a little bit. Tristan Cassis hasn't really found his role at first base. When I mean his role, he hasn't been that good. His numbers have been very similar to I'm blanking. Bobby Dalbec's numbers of last year, and a lot of people clamored against him, who's actually been doing pretty well for the Woo Sox. Again, just a team that didn't put a lot of star power into their free agency in their offseason. Chaim Bloom, we can only blame him so much. I do think he's an idiot. He tries to mock that Tampa Bay's vibe. It's just not going to work for the Red Sox. Again, it all goes down to John Henry. And guess what? There's one guy that they can target next year, and I'm pretty sure you'll be hearing a little bit more about it from me soon, and that's Shohei Ohtani. The Red Sox need to make sure they go all in for him. I know he's flirted the idea a little bit with Alex Cora and how much he loves Boston and how it fits him and for marketing. It's just a thought. Red Sox haven't pulled the trigger in a long time, so I'll leave it on that note. And yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in, and shout out Dustin Poirier over Ben.
Yeah, shout out Dustin Poirier. Let's take Gaethje over him on that one. But yeah, I'd love to see Shohei over there. Let's finally make a move. We haven't made a big splash move in a while. We've made some casual moves, some good moves, but I'd like to see him go all in on somebody. That'd be huge for us. And as Josh mentioned, this was good to just give the Red Sox the last 4 minutes. Really nothing to talk about. They kind of stink. It's not due to their own, not totally from their own circumstances. AL East is the best division in baseball, so we're going to kind of get eaten up by that. But the pitching's just not there. We got to figure out the pitching. Hitting's been decent, but just every time we go with this bullpen or starting pitching, it just falls apart. And of course, Josh has got to bring up Nathan Eovaldi. Yeah, he's killing it over in the Rangers. Rangers leading that division, I believe, AL West. Rangers looking great over there. Got the Mets pitcher too. Who was the Mets pitcher, Josh? They got from the offseason, DeGrom.
Yep, and they got Kodai Senga, who's been pretty good.
Yeah. So
Japanese phenom. It's been good.
It shows you, sometimes you pay the big bucks. And
Kodai's on the Mets. I'm sorry. Jacob DeGrom is there though. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Big.
You're right.
It's all good. Okay, I remember that actually. I remember the other one. Yeah, I mean DeGrom, it still shows you. I mean, even that last one guy, it's a guy. I remember him. It's a guy who lost me a bet for the Mets one time. So that's how I remember his name. But listen, shows you sometimes you gotta spend to get that money to get those wins. So whatever with the Red Sox. Let's see what they can do. Probably nothing. But thank you for everyone watching. As always, we'll end it with this one, as I previously mentioned. We're taking Panthers and Nuggets. Go Nuggets.